We're getting you some more news coming in, and this is about the BLS website, which is an international service for providing visa services. This is in context to Canada. BLS has removed that notification from their website where it was earlier written that Indian visa services have been suspended. All of these developments in the context of heightened tensions, diplomatic tensions between India and Canada. After the top envoy, after the top diplomat was suspended, India took a similar position, and the Khalistan issue has been one issue which has been a stinging bone of contention between the two countries. India's point has been that Canada has to act on the extremist elements and ensure that it's not a subterfuge for terror elements on Canadian soil. Well, on the website right now, you can see that earlier what was put out is that Indian visa services have been suspended, and that now has been done away with. We have seen multiple developments happening after the diplomatic tensions heightened. There was an advisory that was issued by Canada, and it was argued that Indian nationals traveling to India, you need to be cautious when you go to Jammu and Kashmir. They also spoke about the northeastern states, and then there was the visa services that seemed to be affected. Siddhant will tell us more about it. Siddhant, over to you. Tell us more.
Well, honestly speaking, when we are trying to get the exact of visa services in Canada, perhaps we are speaking to people in Ministry of External Affairs also. All what they are telling us is that at 4 p.m. there is going to be a press conference of a spokesperson of Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Arindam Bagchi, and perhaps in that press conference, India would, for the first time, will speak on the issue of India and Canada. And we can take that question to Mr. Bagchi regarding the status of visa service in Canada. So this particular notice was reflecting on the website of BLS since morning. So we reported based on that notice. There was no confirmation or there was no statement from Indian High Commission in Canada or Ministry of External Affairs. But by afternoon, that notice, which was being reflected in the form of ticker tape, has been removed now by BLS. Now, it's up to BLS also to clarify, because initially they said that due to operational reasons, this decision has been taken. But since we all know what's happening between India and Canada in the last 24 hours, one cannot see this particular notice in isolation. And also, interestingly, one fact I would like to put out for viewers, that the person who was responsible for the consular section in High Commission in Canada is the diplomat who has been expelled by Canada. So, perhaps there are a lot of links to this notice which was reflected on the BLS website. Yeah. Therefore, we ran that story on the basis of this notice. Now that notice has been removed, we have to wait for a few more hours until the press conference takes place, where we are going to ask this question, because this question concerns lot of people, and perhaps this impacts the person-to-person ties between India and Canada. So it's very important that we get a clarification for our viewers as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Siddhant, I appreciate you pointing out that, there are still a lot of questions that remain unanswered. It's not speculative what we are putting out for you. These are facts that we are stating. And of course, this is a time between India and Canada where diplomatic tensions are on a high, and these sort of things are expected. We only expect it to smoothen because it's the ordinary people, ordinary Indians, and a huge chunk of the population, Indian population living in Canada, which would be troubled. Let me take you through these two pictures that we are putting out. First, this part. Indian visa services have been suspended till further notice. This is what the website showed a couple of hours ago. Let's cut to this picture. And this grab of the website now shows that welcome to India Visa Application Center, Canada. Click your jurisdiction below. And, these are the general, guidelines that you have to follow when you're applying for a visa of Canada. But that particular notice of suspension of the visa services that has been taken away, was this in some way officially communicated and then withdrawn, or what exactly was it? That remains to be answered in certainty, with some degree of certainty. Siddhant continues to be with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, let's break it down. A, what is BLS? How critical it is? If the website had put in a notice of this nature, is it possible that they could have done it without any kind of notice from the Canadian government?
Well, look, BLS is completely an independent body, which is perhaps takes care of the visa-related formalities for the government of India, and so they are the service provider in a way. So if they have come up with some sort of a curse trap or a notice on their website, it means a lot, because if for I think like a normal person, normal Canadian, if one wants to apply for a visa to India, then the first thing they are going to do is to open the website of BLS. Then obviously they will go to the Twitter handle and the other social media platforms of the High Commission. So if that particular notice was being displayed on the website, it means a lot, and that is the reason that we picked up that story and we ran it. That this is the notice which is being reflected, and also given the situation between the two countries, and as I pointed out, that the diplomat which has been expelled by Canada by making false accusation was in charge of the consulate section. So there were a lot of links to the notice. It cannot be seen in isolation. Many times, a lot of these service providers, and in fact the consulates also come out with these notice because of the operational reasons time and again. But those cases have nothing to do with the relations between the two countries. But this particular case cannot be seen in isolation. And then after some time, by afternoon, the notice was removed from the website. So let's wait for some more hours, because there's going to be a press conference here in National Capital where Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Arindam Bagchi is surely going to take questions on India-Canada deteriorating ties and the accusations that have been made by Canada, and perhaps post that we would be in a better state to make viewers understand what exactly happened and what is the status.
What exactly is the status? Let's also talk a bit more about, Siddhant, how the diplomatic tensions have heightened, the kind of accusations that have been made by the Canadian government, and the lack of any kind of proof on the table or on record so far.
Yes, so basically, there are a lot of things, decisions, perhaps major decisions that Indian government has also taken with regards to by expelling the intelligence officer of Canada here in New Delhi, also by issuing a very strong travel advisory, and even some sources within the government are also telling us that the government is mulling over a couple of more options, like cancelling of OCI certificates, and also taking action against the Khalistani separatist leaders here in India by attaching their properties. So a lot is being done, and in fact the Quebec movement of Canada, that is also something which may get reflected on international platform by India. So Indian government is right now mulling over a lot of options. Perhaps diplomatic muscle twisting, that is what we call. So we can expect anything to happen. But right now we are looking for the confirmation for our viewers, since all these things happen at a diplomatic level, where the leaders of the two governments are involved, where the officials from the two governments are involved. But when it comes to visa, when it comes to the consular section, then it involves normal man. Common man. So that is something which bothers most of us, in fact, if any such decision has been taken. So that is something which we would be able to tell our viewers maybe in some time from now. Back to you.
That those are the developments that Siddhant has just elucidated for our viewers. But the key concern that India has repeatedly raised with Canada is the kind of Khalistani anti-India activities which have been allowed in the Canadian soil, and more importantly, the kind of action that has been taken is something that India has not been happy with. Now, when those concerns were put repeatedly, there was a statement that was made by the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and after that, the diplomatic tensions have been heightened. We'll continue getting you all the details and updates. My colleague Siddhant also putting things into perspective.